Wild Charge forces the opponent's final Protect Shield back out. Comes the loaded ape. The first close combat will be returning Rhyperior back to its Pokeball. Back out comes Magnezone, and it's very quickly about to meet the same fate. GG's, and thanks for playing. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have an incredible battle submission from my good friend Cutlassboy. Cutlassboy woke up and he chose violence, as we have got Pokemon only running nukes. We've got ShadowMagnezone running Wild Charge and Flash Cannon. We've got Annihilape. Most apes are debating, should I run Ice Punch, should I run Night Slash? Well, the answer is neither. You want Close Combat and Shadow Ball for maximum boom potential. Rounding the team off, we're going to have Shadow Dragonite operating on the Say Switch with a nuke of its own, Hurricane, looking to nuke any fairies that might switch into us. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, Cutlassboy not off to the best start. His UFO is staring at a very angry ape. We see the Say Switch into Dragonite baiting out Excadrill. If we was running the standard moveset of Dragon Claw and Superpower, this wouldn't be a bad matchup whatsoever, as even a one-stage debuff Superpower knocks out the squishy Excadrill. We of course haven't got it, but Cutlassboy looking to fake it till he makes it. Force the protection with the first Dragon Claw. He's then able to fire off the second Dragon Claw on the CMP tie, and despite only hitting for resisted damage, he's managed to get Excadrill down to around a third health and obtain shield advantage in the mid-game. This now sets up the perfect opportunity for Cutlassboy to send in his own ape and get a very nice running start. The opponent re-enters the ape mirror behind an energy, and we have no Night Slash, so Cutlassboy full sending the Shadow Ball. The opponent shows no respect, get rocked very deep into the red, and we're going to see the instant shield deployed. The opponent fires off the Night Slash bait, hoping that will save their fate, but evidently it will not, as out comes Magnezone. Are we about to see the first close combat boom of the video? No, we're not. Cutlassboy resets his debuff, sending out the UFO to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent once again baits with the Avalanche that simply isn't going to get the job done. Again, this is only an Avalanche. Magnezone is going to hang on. Can we reach the Flash Cannon? Yes, we can. Flash Cannon going to be massive overkill. Get that Magnezone off my screen. One counter deletes the UFO. This game's so over, but if the opponent wants that work, Cutlassboy's going to give it to him with that BM close combat to their face. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, lead the UFO into Machamp. Out. These tough leads are continuing. Again, we see the Say Switch into Dragonite, and we're hard punished by Magnezone. Cutlassboy farms up, throws the Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. I imagine this is the easiest shield of the opponent's life. Trainer, what are you doing? If you have that hard lead, I'd just maintain alignment. The opponent offers us the opportunity to take back switch, and Cutlassboy grinning ear to ear as he knows he's going to be able to flip this matchup on its head. I am absolutely bamboozled. If you've got a water flying type in the back, aka Gyarados, and you've seen with lead ShadowMagnezone, why the hell would you not fight for switch? The opponent fires off the crunch, back out comes Machamp, we bank the Wild Charge, send out 8. One payback won't be lethal. What the hell is this opponent thinking? Let's see, do they even have it? No, they don't. Trainer. Oh man, this is horrible and harsh to watch. Sometimes alignment is king. Just think of them stupid people running Wigglytuff, Bastiodon and some sort of Razor Leafer. Just keep alignment, win battle. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, things are looking up as we win lead very, very hard. The opponent stays in and make a very nice Wild Charge catch onto the GOAT Swampert. Swampert only takes single resisted due to ground, double resistant electric and water taking super effective. That Shadow Wild Charge still does half their health and we respond with Dragonite. Oh baby, I can already see what's about to happen. I think there is no shot that Gardevoir shields. No, we've got Magnezone. We get the full Dragon Breath farm down. Cutlassboy farms up. He reaches the Hurricane and we're full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Dragonite is a Gardevoir counter confirmed. You heard it here first. It's now 2 Shield Metagross versus the Wild Metagross. Does get a very nice Bullet Punch farm down. Cutlassboy opts to send out Annihilape. We see the instant no shield deployed. Annihilape can tank 1 Meteor Mash, but it does a lot of damage. Cutlassboy farms up and then makes a Meteor Mash catch. Cutlassboy, you savage. That is a double resisted Meteor Mash onto Magnezone. Cutlassboy can easily shield this move up. Volt Switch farm down, but it looks like he's being even more savage and looking for that 2 shield flex. Back out comes Annihilape. Annihilape gets the counter farm down and we take that game. That is the ultimate bad manners. Heading into the next battle. Oh, hello, Gary. Nice to see you nice. The opponent saves switches into the steel mole, and out comes Annihilape. The opponent fires off the drill run. 8 withstands the damage. Cutlassboy can go for the one shield counter farm all the way down and leave at 100 energy, and that looks like the play he is going for. 8 does get that full counter farm down, and nothing really in this meta is going to want to tank these twin nukes. Back out comes Gary. 8 fires off the first Shadow Ball, rocking Gary down to around a half health. 8 able to outpace to the second Shadow Ball, which is going to leave Gary incredibly low. The opponent just sack Gary, sending out Rhyperior. Rhyperior taking so much counter damage, and we reach the close combat. There is no shot this lands. Close combat! Oh. Unfortunately, we aren't going to see an 8 sweep, but Cutlassboy can send out Magnezone. Magnezone going to be operating as the damage sponge. The opponent fire off the break-in swipe, and then we send out Dragonite. The opponent is going to have to land a Rock Wrecker to win this battle. We see the instant no shield deployed. The opponent fire off the break-in swipe. Despite that being super effective, it simply isn't going to get the job done. We can now just shield this up. Dragon Breath farm Rhyperior all the way down. And that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Magnezone into Dragonite. This is such a super scuffed matchup. Essentially their bait game. Lots of Magnezone like to mirror shot bait, and lots of Dragonite like to Dragon Claw bait. We respect the superpower. The opponent kills a poor defenseless cat, firing off that bait. Cutlassboy doesn't even have mirror shot, so we're YOLOing the Wild Charge. Wild Charge forces the Protect Shield. We're doubled up. Unfortunately, we lose CMP, but this can only be a Dragon Claw. Despite the low defense, Magnezone withstands the damage, fires off the second Wild Charge. The opponent all down one Protect Shield, actually going to 2-shield their lead. We then see the pivot into Dragonite, baiting out Togekiss, and this is exactly what the team is supposed to do, because of course Annihilape isn't going to fancy seeing this. We land the Hurricane. Hurricane does so much damage. Cutlassboy sends back up Magnezone, looking to force the energy off Togekiss. Even an ancient power from this range will be lethal. Out comes Annihilape. Annihilape looking for the resisted counter farm down, which we get, but at the cost of quite a lot of HP. Out comes Metagross. Cutlassboy just needs to be mindful the opponent might look to catch back onto Dragonite. Cutlassboy throws the Shadow Ball, but loses CMP. But this is going to be the easiest shield of his GBL career. We shield up the Meteor Mash, fire off the Shadow Ball. It's going to be high Metagross, by Metagross. Dragonite doesn't have much residual energy. Annihilape going to be able to withstand the Dragon Breath, reach another Shadow Ball, and claim back-to-back victims. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Gyarados in the lead. The opponent's running Waterfall, and they're staying in, which should only mean one thing. This is going to be double Charm in the back. We need to protect this UFO at all costs, as we're double weak to Charm in the back. Cutlassboy does look to protect zone, but just the Waterfall damage has got us quite low. Out comes Charmer, number 1, and we're full sending the Flash Cannon. Of course, the opponent is going to be shielding everything. This is a matchup where we really wish we had Mirror Shot. Using a 4-turn move into a 3-turn move, ideally you want to throw after 2 or 5. We actually let a Charm through there, and all this damage is getting Magnezone insanely low. Cutlassboy saves Magnezone on a sliver of HP and sends out Annihilape. We shield up the Side Shock, return fire with the Shadow Ball. I don't think this Shadow Ball is quite going to be lethal. Shadow Ball isn't lethal. Cutlassboy looks for the counter farm down, which we get, but we're not going to reach a charge move before Togekiss Charm farms us down, and that is heartbreaking, as I think this might be a loss. If we would have got new mechanic or damage registration error, a close combat would have put this thing into Hurricane range, but unfortunately we didn't get it because the game is really inconsistent and runs like trash. Hurricane gets Togekiss low, they leave with a charge move, and we are going to take that heartbreaking loss. And I'm going to say, fuck you, double Charm. No GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Goodra in the lead. Side note, you can of course run double Charm, you can run whatever you like, but I personally think you're a brainless idiot if you run that trash. I said what I said, I'm always outspoken. If you don't like it, feel free to unsubscribe or dislike the video. Getting back into the commentary, we full send the Flash Cannon that lands for big damage on Goodra. We send out Dragonite, and our Dragonite save switch is answered by Gyarados. This actually isn't the worst matchup for Dragonite, as Dragonite has a huge stat product in the Master League, and despite the opponent hitting us for super effective and only taking neutral, this is pretty evens. The opponent fires off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail isn't enough to knock out, and Dragonite reaches the departing Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw likewise isn't going to be lethal. We do leave Gyarados on a fraction of HP. Cutlassboy sends out Magnezone. Magnezone able to get the Volt Switch farm down. Back out comes Goodra. Goodra reaches the departing move, but Cutlassboy looking to nuke something in the back. Shields it up. The opponent sends out Metagross. We bank the Wild Charge for the road and send out the Angry Ape. This is certainly going to be a matchup where having close combat is going to be advantageous. If we went straight Shadow Ball, it would be straight 8 counters, whereas close combat only takes 7, then 6. Cutlassboy fires off the first close combat, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. We're doubled up. Is close combat enough to knock out? Yes, it is. Get that Metagross off my screen. Goodra gets the Dragon Breath farm down. We've got the Wild Charge banked, and despite being resisted, it is going to pick up the KO. GG's, and thanks for playing. I was actually curious to see how much a close combat does to Metagross. Of course, it is neutral due to their Steel Psychic type, and it does around 56%, so that is an easy knockout from that range. In the next battle, we see another Gyarados in the lead. The opponent safe switches into Goodra. Cutlassboy opts to stay in, tanks the Aqua Tail, returns fire with the Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon, of course, goes no shielded. No one respecting Zone, and Zone is getting so many Flash Cannons through. We then send out Dragonite. Dragonite tanks the Thunder Punch, commits to the Dragon Breath farm down, and out comes Tyranitar. Cutlassboy again looking to fake it till he makes it, looking to fake a potential superpower, forcing the Protect Shield. I'm a huge fan of Tyranitar. I think the design for this Pokemon is sick, as it looks like Godzilla, but unfortunately this is not where Godzilla wants to be. Staring at a counter usually, the opponent fires off the Crunch, then pivot back out into Gyarados. Cutlassboy fires off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball goes unshielded, then send out Zone. Look at the Volt Switch. That one Volt Switch did like 20% of their health. Cutlassboy shields up the Crunch. The next Volt Switch knocks him out. We leave with the Wild Charge, and this is just game over. The opponent can pick their poison. Instead, opt to tank the damage and concede the match. Heading into the next one, we see the mighty UFO into Primarina. You love to see it. And what you love to see is the opponent opting to stay in and then safe switch into Venusaur. A very spicy pick. I've actually got a Shadow Venusaur maxed all the way to level 51. Which I can showcase if you want. I'll probably get clapped with it, but if you want to see it, post it down below and we'll get some battles together. I think if you're going to run Venusaur, you want the Shadow. You can see 2 Sludge Bombs just simply don't get the job done. Dragonite able to Dragon Breath farm down and leave with a Hurricane. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Hurricane near one-shots Primarina. Primarina survives. Deep in the red, 1 Volt Switch is going to snipe him, and Magnezone leaves absolutely loaded. The opponent's final Pokemon is Goodra. There is no shot. The opponent's got a shield right. Flash Cannon goes unshielded. The opponent pretty much has opted to die with 2 shields. Cutlassboy just going to send out Ape. This is enough for a Draco. Cutlassboy says, fuck it, trainer. If you've got it, throw it. The opponent says, thanks, I will. But despite the opponent landing that huge boom, they're not going to be able to win this battle. This is only going to be an Aqua Tail or Thunder Punch. I assume Thunder Punch. Who runs Aqua Tail? And Draco. Probably no one. And we get the 4 shield flex. Heading into the next battle, we see another trainer running PvPoke's #1 ranked pick, Goodra. Cutlassboy opts to stay in. The opponent throws the Aqua Tail on alignment, giving us a full 4 free turns of energy. Cutlassboy says thanks very much, and of course he's YOLOing the Flash Cannon. Are we finally going to see a Goodra respect it? No, we're not. We land the Flash Cannon, we're able to get the snipe. The opponent really slow to react. They send out Metagross. Since Dragonite got access to Superpower, this is actually a pretty neutral matchup. Cutlassboy farms up a boatload of energy, faking yet another Superpower, forcing a Protect Shield. Cutlassboy then just opts to throw the Dragon Claw. Despite us being a Shadow, this is just going to tickle. I would have liked to see the opponent heavily overfarm here, as the Dragon Breaths are resisted and they could have at least thrown maybe 4 or 5 extra bullet punches and leave with more residual energy. Cutlassboy now sends back out Magnezone. The opponent pivots out into Annihilape. We're going to fire off the Wild Charge. Surely this gets a shield, which it does, and then we pivot out into our own Ape with a 2 to no shield advantage. I imagine the opponent probably going to masturbate, killing a poor defenseless cat. However, I think no amount of masturbating is going to change the outcome of this battle. Cutlassboy thinks about calling it, shields up yet another Ice Punch, but Cutlassboy can just return fire with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does around 85%, so with the Volt Switch and counter damage, does secure the knockout. Back out comes Metagross, and them not overfarming the mid-game is going to cost them dearly as we outpace to the close combat and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Rhyperior in the lead. This is going to be an abort mission, and we safe switch into Dragonite, drawing out Gyarados. This is quite a flippable matchup. Let's see if Cutlassboy fights for switch. We fire off the Dragon Claw, the opponent unwilling to shield. Cutlassboy could shield and farm down if he wants to. He's actually not willing to shield. The opponent actually Aqua Tail, no trainer. I personally am not a fan of baiting. I like to YOLO nukes pretty much all the time. However, in certain situations, of course, baiting would make sense. That was not one. It's not like they could reach double Aqua Tail, so they should have just thrown the crunch, securing the knockout or forcing a shield. Speaking of forcing a protect shield, that's exactly what Cutlassboy does. As the UFO does shield, fearful of a potential superpower. We then send out Annihilape. We correctly shield the wild charge. The opponent forced to reset their debuff, sending out Rhyperior. Rhyperior fires off the break-in to wipe these counters. Really starting to chunk Rhyperior. Cutlassboy banks a boatload of energy, sends out the UFO. He fires off the wild charge, quite literally at the last second, allowing minimal farm. If the opponent opts not to shield, the opponent does invest that protect shield. And now we're going to land back-to-back booms. The first close combat vanquishes Rhyperior. Back to their Pokeball, back out comes Magnezone, and is very quickly about to meet the same fate. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we lead ShadowMagnezone into Excadrill. One of the worst leads you can possibly see. We say switch into Dragonite. The opponent banks some energy and then send out Primarina. Unfortunately, Hurricane isn't going to one-shot, and the Dragon Breaths are double resisted. However, can we actually flip this? Let's go, Dragonite. Holy crap. Dragonite able to withstand the charm damage, get the resisted Dragon Breath farm down, back out comes Excadrill. Come on. Give us a shield, trainer. You know you want to. The opponent actually unwilling to shield Excadrill, but Dragonite has almost beat two Pokemon, a Steel type and a Fairy, which is pretty insane. Cutlassboy now sends out Annihilape. He tanks the first drill run. The opponent is able to reach the second, and we're going to see Cutlassboy invest the Protect Shield. The opponent don't even pivot out to save Excadrill as a potential third shield. They send out Waterfall Gary. Hi Gary. Bye Gary. I don't know why the opponent is playing this out. We're just going to shield, Volt Switch farm all the way down, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Another very, very quick battle. In the next battle, we see a familiar lead. The opponent actually say switch into Skeledirge, and we respond with Dragonite. Dragonite can tank one disarming voice. However, we're going to see Cutlassboy choose to respect the first one. Cutlassboy then heavily overfarms before firing off the Dragon Claw. This Dragon Claw should pretty much be lethal from this range if it goes unshielded. The opponent chooses to invest that Protect Shield. Cutlassboy gonna tank the second disarming voice that does leave us low. Cutlassboy looks for the Dragon Breath farm down, which we get, and we leave absolutely no farm. I think we might actually get sniped by a Dragon Breath. So if the game works as intended, like it does here, the opponent can deny all of our energy as the quick move does register if you're using a one-turn move before the charge move does. The opponent then send out Excadrill. We see Cutlassboy bank the wild charge for the road and then send out the 8. I guess we just save our final Protect Shield for Magnezone, and this should be pretty plain sailing. We should be able to tank this next drill run and counter farm down. I'll actually hold that for. We might get Mudshot farm down. Cutlassboy plays it safe, throwing the Shadow Ball, hitting no bubbles. Of course it still knocks out, back out comes Dragonite. Cutlassboy just needs to double up, and we're easily going to be able to outpace. Cutlassboy is now doubled up, so if the opponent shields the first, the second should be knocking out. In fairness, they're probably just about outside of wild charge range. It does about 65%. So we're going to see Cutlassboy continue to farm up, maximising his Volt Switch damage and definitely putting it into wild charge range. And we're going to take that game. We also had the Flash Cannon, which does do slightly more damage. But regardless, we emerge victorious. In the next battle, we see yet another Goodra. And I'm going to say we're going to land yet another Flash Cannon. Although, whenever I say things like that, the opponents normally catch me sleeping and they shield. Let's see if we're going to see the first shield on the Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon goes unshielded once again. We pivot into Dragonite. This opponent able to reach a charge move before going down, but it's only an Aqua Tail, which essentially heals us. I think at higher elo, perhaps we'd see more people saving Goodra at low health rather than letting us snipe them and get a running start. Again, we see people pairing Goodra with Metagross. Cutlassboy again looking to fake the super. This opponent actually call it. Cutlassboy just going to fire off the next Dragon Claw, looking to do as much damage as possible. The opponent actually choose to shield the next and dump energy. We see the instant no shield deployed. Cutlassboy tanks the Meteor Mash. This opponent, unlike the last, did at least overfarm, which means they're going to reach a Meteor Mash against either Pokemon. Cutlassboy opts to send out the UFO. We're going to see him shield up the Meteor Mash. Cutlassboy himself doesn't overfarm. We could have at least thrown one further Volt Switch, but it is what it is. We opt to get rid of it immediately, and we are spamming the switch. Out comes Annihilape into Waterfall Gary. I imagine this is a loss in the one shield. However, let's not write Cutlassboy off yet. We tank the first Aqua Tail. Cutlassboy continuing to farm up. He throws the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie. Of course, we're going to be forced to shield here. Shadow Ball isn't quite going to be lethal from this range, but is going to do big damage. The opponent might look to call a Night/Bait, which they do. Cutlassboy then one and throws the Close Combat. Close Combat is going to force the final Protect Shield. Can we survive the Waterfall damage and get the Volt Switch farm down? Cutlassboy actually ended the recording slightly early there, but I think that's a win. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I guess it's going to remain one of life's mysteries. Moving on to the next battle. We see the Dream Lead Magnezone into Hisuian Avalugg. The opponent fires off the Icy Wind, then pivot into Salamence. A Shadow as well. Flash Cannon despite being debuffed. Nearly knocks him out. We then snipe with Dragonite, although our Dragonite is now aligned with this Ice Table. Cutlassboy fires off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw forces a Protect Shield. The opponent looking for that full Powder Snow farm down, but Dragonite's like, nah, not that easy, champ. Reaches one further Dragon Claw, and the opponent actually 2 shields in a really positive matchup. I'm not entirely sure why you 2 shield, as we could send up Magnezone to completely wall this energy, although in fairness, it's not really going that far against Ape either. Out comes Chandelure again. This is going to be a debuff Shadow Ball, but Chandelure is made of absolute paper. Debuff Shadow Ball still almost picks up that one-hit KO. We then look to snipe with Magnezone, or at least I thought we did. It looks like Cutlassboy again, looking for the very rude 2 shield flex. Come on, Cutlassboy, you easily tank this. No, Cutlassboy shields up the Icy Wind to play it safe, gets the counter farm down, and we take that game. Huge shout out to Cutlassboy for showcasing a very fun Nukes only team in the Master League Premier Cup. That was a lot of fun. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. My battle submission form is linked down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.